Hello, viewers of Back to Nature, Forward to Abundance. I am Dr. Sree. I am a certified EFT practitioner. I teach meditation. I use meditation and EFT and visualizations with my clients. I have a PhD in applied statistics, which is where my doctor comes from. And I have worked for over 25 years in health research. Over the last year, I decided it's almost exactly a year and a bit since I gave up my 9 to 5, which is a good 6-figure salaried income, because I knew there was more work that I had to do other than just working for other people, and that there were gifts I had that I wanted to share. As I think about my journey, right? And this has become more and more defined as I have moved through this past year, where I have gone from being in some kind of job all the time to being my own boss, and that has. I'm just trying to open this document that I need. That has been a journey. It was a journey to get to the place where I was fully financially independent, and now it's a journey of allowing myself to need help, need support, and then jumping from there to the next space. So what am I talking about? This presentation in this summit that is called Back to Nature and Forward to Abundance. Although the theme there, in a certain sense, is how can you exploit nature, or how can you be one with nature in order to create abundance in your life, right? So if you learn, as I know Cindy is an amazing gardener, if you learn how to cultivate your own garden and you have an abundance of the food that you need in your garden, which seems particularly important right now, to how do you become self-sufficient, is, I think, a large part of what Cindy teaches. And what my 8-step framework is about is going from a space where you are feeling helpless, where you feel powerless. And if truth be told, a lot of us in the United States right now are in that space where we are feeling helpless and powerless. But it doesn't do us any good to stay there, right? We don't want to wallow in the helplessness. We want to acknowledge it. We don't want to push anything down. We want to acknowledge the fact that we are feeling helpless and powerless. But then in the journey, and definitely in my journey, what happened was I went from being helpless and powerless to a place that I say, F you, I am going to become self-sufficient, or I am going to become financially independent. And then you take steps in order to do that. So you either learn what kind of soil you have, what kind of food you can grow, what the nutrients are. You learn, you make mistakes, you fail, you try again, right? And it takes time. What changes is your attitude. And that's the biggest thing that has to change. Not only your attitude, what I have learned over the years is there is a certain confidence that needs to be felt physically in the body in order for you to actually manifest what it is that you are seeking to manifest. So an easy example to say is, if you say, I'm going to become a millionaire, right? Which, if that's an affirmation that you care about, but every cell in your body is saying that is not true. You are not going to become a millionaire. Then you will not, because you're physically, you are not in a place where you are ready to step into that. So in each of these steps, so when you start with helplessness and powerlessness, the important thing there is to be able to get into your body and understand, what does this feel like? Where do you feel it? Typically it feels like scrunching forward, like protecting yourself, protecting your heart, protecting your innards in a certain sense. So that is the stance, even though it may not physically be the stance, emotionally that is the stance you're in. And then you rise up, you gain a little bit of power, or your frame becomes different when you say, fuck you, I am going to be successful, or I am going to be self-sufficient, or I am going to be financially independent. When you move from helplessness to that space, again, you will notice that there is a change in your physique, in the way you hold yourself, in the way you talk, in your voice, in the way you breathe. So it is, it's an amazing thing to realize how tied in your body is with your mind. So from there, then you go to a place where you have actually learned all the lessons in the defiance phase, and you become self-sufficient, you become independent. And at that point, for me, what was there, it actually took me 20 years from the time, my reaction to the situations in my life was, F you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to not need any of you, to the place where I became fully financially independent. It actually took me 20 years, and did that while we were, circumventing the earth, in moving across 3 continents and living in multiple different homes. I think my count right now is 40 times that I've moved apartments or homes. But you get to that place where you feel, not only do you feel this sense of comfort and your spine is straight and your shoulders are down, your hips are squared, but there's also a certain amount of I don't need anyone now. I'm by myself. And where that takes you to is a place where you don't want to ask for help. You're willing to give help, but you don't want to ask for help. And that is a dangerous place in a certain sense to be, because nobody is an island. And even though there was a part of me that felt that I did all of this, I was able to do all of this, I wouldn't have been able to do all of this if my husband hadn't decided to come to this country, to, even though we traveled all over the world, everywhere, there was a supportive structure. Whether I want to, acknowledge it or not, there always was that supportive structure. So then when I gave up my job and I decided that I am going to focus fully on my business, there was a point when I needed support. I'm sorry, I am looking at my computer because the screen froze. So then it comes to that place where I had to say, no, I actually need help. I need financial help right now because I'm trying to build this thing. That was very difficult for me. It was difficult for me because my ego and my sense of I don't ever want to be dependent on anyone was so strong that I really needed, in a certain sense, to be broken a little bit in order. It was like being broken open, right? And so then you are in this space where you can be financially independent, but you also know that you're allowed to receive. You are allowed to be supported. You are allowed, you deserve, in fact, to be supported, to be cherished. And there is a skill in learning how not to give yourself up or your integrity up, but yet be able to receive. It is a skill. It is one of the things that we are afraid of when we are asking for help, is that we will lose our sense of self. Right? And so there is a way in which you hold on to yourself, but yet are open to receiving support. I hope that makes sense. And I'll go a little bit more into the techniques of where this is going. And once you're able to get into that space where you can welcome and support, then you're also able to step into a place where you can become a good, productive member of a team and you can lead a team because you are not afraid then to say when you need help, ask for help, to delegate and to build. And not only to build yourself up, but to build an organization and then also to build other people who you are serving through your organization and create ripple effects in society, right? So that is my 8-step framework. The 8-step framework has actually 4 initial steps. I'm going to just give me a minute because I'm looking away from you all because I want to open another document here on my computer. And let's see, let's open that one. And my business, if you don't know, it's called Freeing Ourselves. So I call this the freedom framework. Okay, and the way I came up with this was, like I said, stage 1 is feeling helpless, right? You feel powerless, you feel helpless. A lot of us are feeling that right now. And then we are also, a lot of us, moving into defiance, and there's a mindset shift saying, no, I'm not going to allow this to happen. I am going to claim my power. I am going to claim my right to be here, to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. And that is the defiance and mindset shift. That's like the turning point for us. And then you become independent, you become self-sufficient, you do the work that it takes to get there. And then finally, you are in a place where you are welcoming support. You know when to ask for support. You know how to get support. And you have built a team and you are able to go forward and become a leader yourself and create other leaders. So that's what I call it. That's when you're truly free, when you know both how to be fully free within yourself and to welcome support and see how you can help other people go to that place. So hopefully all of that made sense, and you will have a chance to book a call with me if you choose to go into the VIP session, because I'll spend a whole hour with you, working with you, in order to figure out where the blocks are, where you need which stage of this 8-step process are you in, and what are the things that you need to do in order to move forward. But before we get to that, right, when we are in this stage of that primary stage of helplessness, let me just focus a little bit on that first step for a bit now. When you're feeling powerless and when you're feeling helpless, there is a very powerful inner critic inside you, right? That critic is telling you, either, in my case, part of my story is that when I was 19, I lost my mother in a plane crash. My mother was my best friend. She was my closest confidant. She has made me, I have a blog post about her for those who would like to read it. She has made me the mother I am today. And I'm a great mother. So that happened, and there were conditions in my family, like, one of my brothers was experimenting with alcohol and drugs. The other brother, both of them are older than me, had just got married, and 30 days into his marriage was when my mother died. And it just seemed I took it on. I took on the responsibility of the family in my mind. And that was a lot. I remember lying in bed that night, as in between holding my brother's hands and telling my mom in my mind, go in peace, I'll take care of it, which is an enormous burden for a 19-year-old to take. And there was a sense in which I took this to mean that that there was something about me that created this, or that I was not special, I was not normal. There's something that terrible that happens only to a few people in the world had happened to me. And therefore, there must be something about me, right? There was a way in which my mind turned that into something about me. So our mind is very creative in terms of how cleverly it teaches us to blame ourselves and to put ourselves down, because it's much safer in a certain sense. We've been told all along, right? Particularly women have been told so often, don't be seen, don't be heard, don't be too bold, don't be too bright, don't be too beautiful, just hush, hush. That is the way for a girl to be. How many of us have heard that? And so because those are stories it's not only us, generations before our ancestors have sort of settled that into our genes. And so it's very easy for us to take anything that happens in our life and turn it into language that our critic then uses. See, you're useless, or see, you're unlucky, see, bad things happen to you, see, you're never going to be successful. All of those things, when that is where we slip into, when our critic takes over our being in a certain sense, we learn to get into that space of stress and fight or flight and feeling scared and feeling that scrunched up. And if we don't do the work in order to become more self-aware, what happens is that the stress, the level of stress hormones and the level of cortisol and adrenaline and all of those things that circulate within us when we are in that stance, the body gets addicted to it. We become emotionally addicted to be in a certain place. And then it becomes scary to move away from that, because that is what we are so used to. The body is used to it as well. So if you've read any of Dr. Dispenza's books, he'll talk about getting over the habit of being yourself. And that becomes a habit because the body is habituated to those chemicals and those hormones and those, circulating in our system. And so we want to get to a place where we can overcome that. And one of the best ways to do that is to use what I do is I use a combination of meditation and tapping. And I don't want to do a tapping session here because all the people who are watching this might have multiple different ways in which it needs to be dealt with. But what I do have as a free gift is I have a set of 3 videos in which I call breaking the pattern, right? And so when you're in that space of helplessness or powerlessness, and we can be in that space in different parts of our life. So right now, if we are feeling politically helpless and unable to change the way what is happening in the country, we may be extremely comfortable in the way we run the household, or in the way we cook, or in the way we perform in our career. So you can be this freedom framework. You could be in different places in that freedom framework in different parts of your life. So my gift to you is this set of 3 tapping videos. I call it breaking the pattern, or another name I have for it is taming the inner critic. So what I would love for you to do is to download that and apply it to the place where you are feeling helpless. Notice which part of you, where does the inner critic come in most forcefully, and use it there. Use those set of 3 videos, which will take you through the tapping that will help you move away from the inner critic, to silence your inner critic. Use that, and then once you are able to overcome that sense of helplessness and powerlessness, is when you can move into a space of defiance, which can also be activated by using meditation, visualization, and tapping. So my request to you is this: download the tapping videos, use them, and then book a call with me in order to figure out where you are in the freedom framework and how you will step to your next phase. Okay, so in order to, the best way to book a call with me is to sign up for the VIP, because you get a full hour with me going through this 8-step framework and helping you to figure out exactly where you are and what your next step is in order to move to the next phase in the freedom framework. All of us deserve to be free. All of us are born to be free. All of us are born to be self-sufficient, whether it is with gardening or whether it is with our emotions and our finances, and in every aspect of our life, we deserve freedom. And that is what this freedom framework teaches you to do. How do you get there? So thank you so much, Cindy, for this opportunity to talk with your group and to your audience. I hope all of you got something from this, and just use the tapping, book a call with me, sign up for the VIP. If not, I will be in touch with you once you have finished the tapping. There are ways for you to connect with me through the tapping videos as well. Again, God bless. May you have a wonderful rest of the year, and may you find your freedom. God bless.